In this video, you will learn 10 common English rhyming expressions. So these are expressions which contain two words which rhyme with each other. And this is very common in English, and I'm going to explain why it's so common right now. Okie dokie. Hello, and thank you for joining me again. Yes, and today we're looking at these rhyming expressions in English, which, as I said, they're very common. And there's a reason that they're so common. Is that in English, we like patterns, we like flow, we like the music of the language. So if we have collocations or these idioms or expressions that sound good together, we use them more. And students sometimes ask me if it's really worth learning these idiomatic expressions in English because they think they will never use them. Well, I think for advanced learners, it's good to learn any new vocabulary because these are common expressions, so why not learn them? But for all learners, whatever the level, it's useful to learn how English works, really how we use English in reality. And these are really good examples because, as I said, we like the flow, we like patterns, we like things that just sound good together. So let's look at the first example. Name and shame. Yeah, this is a good one to start with because it's very common and it has become more common in recent years due to the rise in social media. Now, to name and shame somebody is to publicly release their name. Often when a celebrity, a famous person, is abused online through a social media platform, for example, they name and shame the abuser. So maybe the abuser sent a personal message to the celebrity, but then the celebrity names them, releases the name to the public. If you send me abuse in the comments to this video, I will name and shame you in my next video. Now, it's also a good example because if you think about this, name and shame, it rhymes and it flows and it sounds good. But there are other options. You could say name and embarrass or name and humiliate. But name and shame just flows. That's why we choose that combination of words. It just sounds good. And that's how English works often. Okay, number 2. Chick flick. Yes, chick flick is a genre of film made for and popular with girls and young women. So a typical example of a chick flick is Bridget Jones's Diary. Now, chick is a slang word and slightly offensive word for a girl or a young woman. And flick is a slang word for a film or a movie. Now, neither of these words are really used nowadays on their own. Chick is kind of old-fashioned and, as I said, a little offensive now. And flick is a very old word for film or movie. But they sound good together. You could say it's a girl movie or a movie for girls or a film for young women, but chick flick just sounds good. And of course, men are forbidden from watching chick flicks. Men must watch The Gladiator, Godfather, Quentin Tarantino films. But this leads me on to the next example, which is romcom. A romcom is another genre of film, which is short for romantic comedy. So again, maybe a little bit more popular with women than men, but it's more open. It's not specifically made for women. And a typical example of a rom-com is Love Actually, which I like. I like that film, so it's not only for women, right? Let's move on to number 4. Chockablock. This is a nice one, isn't it? Chockablock. Yeah, it just means very crowded, basically. So a lot of people in one place. So, for example, maybe somebody asks you, did you buy anything nice when you went shopping on Saturday? So, no, the shops were chock-a-block. I just wanted to get out as quickly as possible. Of course, in the current pandemic, that's not very common, but when this pandemic finishes, we'll go back to chock-a-block shops and chock-a-block underground stations and chock-a-block football stadiums. Okay, number 5. Mumbo jumbo. Another good one. Yeah, this just means nonsensical or incomprehensible jargon. So words and vocabulary that are difficult to understand or have no real sense. So for example, you could say, I hate the meetings with my boss. He always talks a lot of mumbo jumbo. So he says things that don't make sense, that are just ridiculous. Okay, number 6. Wine and dine. Yeah, this is another very common one, and it's usually used in a business or work context. To wine and dine someone is basically to entertain someone. So imagine if you have a visitor from another company or another country who's come to visit your business for a few days, and during the day you do the business stuff, and in the evening you have to wine and dine them. So you have to take them maybe to bars or restaurants to show them the city or the town where you live and work, and just to show them a good time, basically, to wine and dine them. Often it's used to imply that you're trying to get something, some advantage from them. You're trying to impress them, to get their business, maybe. But not necessarily, but that's often the use. Again, this is an example. You could use other words to wine and have dinner, or to have drinks and food. But again, that just sounds boring and clumsy. So wine and dine flows. It's easier to remember, and it's just nice to say, wine and dine. That's why we use these expressions in English. Okay, the next one. Doom and gloom. Yeah, this is a bit of a negative one, a bit depressing, but again, it's used quite often. It's quite a common expression in English. And it basically refers to depressing times. For example, maybe you have a friend whose girlfriend has just left him, he's lost his job, and you want to cheer him up, you want to make him feel better. So you say, come on mate, it's not all doom and gloom, at least your football team are winning. So doom and gloom, it's everything's negative, you just think everything's negative. Doom means like a terrible destiny, a terrible future. And gloom just means dark, not complete darkness, but very dark. So it's all very negative and depressing. But we use it in the opposite way to try to cheer people up, usually. Saying, come on, it's not all doom and gloom. Number 8 now. Huff and puff. Yes, that was a picture of me. I was looking for photographs of people running marathons and being very tired. And I thought, hang on, I think I've got one of myself somewhere. That's the only marathon I've ever run. It was a couple of years ago. And I was huffing and puffing a lot in that marathon. Now, huff and puff, these are onomatopoeias, these words. So an onomatopoeia is a word that represents a sound. So it's the same as the sound. Like bang or ring, these are the sounds that they represent. So huff and puff, puff. You can imagine it's breathing very heavily when you make a big effort, a big physical effort. But it's not only used in that context, it can be used in a figurative context. Like if you have a very hard job at work, or you have something very difficult to do, you need to huff and puff to get it done. So there's a lot of huffing and puffing to do the job. Okay, the next one. Brain drain. Yeah, this one's quite specific, but it's very common. Again, it's become very common in the last few years. Well, probably the last decade or so. And it refers to the emigration of talent or highly qualified people from a country. So, for example, in Spain, here in Spain, after the last financial crisis of 2008, many highly qualified young people especially left Spain. They went to other countries like Germany, Britain, France to look for work. So that was a brain drain. These highly qualified and talented people were leaving the country to find work in another country, leaving Spain without so many talented and highly qualified people. And the last one now, number 10. By hook or by crook. By hook or by crook. Yeah, this means by any possible means. So you will do anything to achieve something. So for example, I will get that promotion by hook or by crook. So it means you will do anything to get the promotion. A hook is like Captain Hook that he has on his arm where he doesn't have a hand. It's that shape, that hook. And crook is a shepherd's stick, staff, which has the same shape. It's often used to pull people off stage on the theatre. So by hook or by crook. If you found this list useful, then hit the subscribe button and maybe give me a like. If not, and you thought it was a load of mumbo jumbo, I'm sorry. But I hope you'll join me in the next video, so I'll see you later, alligator, in a while, crocodile.